Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to the TV Terminal. My name is Adam Vale, senior editor over at thecoalition.com, and
my name is Lawrence, aka a punk with toys on all those social medias.
And we are back for MobLand Season 1, Episode 5, Funeral with a Friend. Singular. Don't know why, because the whole family shows up for the Harrigans, but hey, that's how they do it. But real quick, housekeeping. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the subs, the follows, all of that on all the platforms, especially here on YouTube. It's been great. I bring it up all the time. We're a new channel. This is a new project for Lawrence and I. We come from different worlds. I'm doing the gaming on the website that he does toys, but we love TV. We love TV shows. We love talking TV. And we're like, here we go.
So, TV is still a thing, guys. It really is. Whether people think it or not, it's just not. It's not consumed how we did back when we were younger, having to be at the TV on Tuesday to see Family Ties or anything like that, and just consume.
Try to set your VCR with the clock that never really counts for daylight savings time, and then it records the news. And I'm like, I missed my show.
God forbid having to be at a bowling alley with your mom and dad when V or
that was a
Dukes
good
of
series.
Hazzard or the A-Team was playing, and you're praying that your dad, let's be honest, it was always your dad that set up the VCR, set the time properly.
Well, not even that. If you lose power, multiple times in my house, we lost power. And not only did the microwave start blinking, the VCR would do it. And there goes that. Whatever we set, and we had a fancy one. It was like, oh, you could set multiple days. Just put in a blank tape, and it didn't matter.
I'm pretty sure you needed to be a NASA engineer to figure out how to set the clock on the VCR.
So it was a worse. It was a worse. Man, I'm sure a lot of people listening was like, VCR? What's a VCR? Well, maybe not. According to our demos, we're in the 50s, 40s, and 50s. So
yeah, there's people in our age that are going, I remember Be Kind, Rewind.
I had a race car one, the one that Blockbuster was selling.
You just put because they were always worried that you were going to burn out the motor with rewinding on your VCR. And VCRs were not cheap. They weren't cheap, believe it or not.
But then not only that, at least the race car one I had, it was too strong. And sometimes they ripped some of the tapes. So we would hear it still revving, like what's it? It should be done. And we pop it up, and it just pulled it so hard that it ripped it off the reel.
I know
on the other end.
It's so sad. I know exactly what race car you're talking about.
Yeah, because that's the one they had on the front and center. It was like, because remember they charged like $2 or something like that if you didn't rewind it. Even mom and pop shops were doing that too. They're like, if you don't rewind it, it takes time for us, and we're trying to train you guys.
You always had that one family or that one friend that was like, I don't care, and mom and dad just paid it because you had to rent the movie. Like that's how we watch stuff, right?
That's how we watch it. Now we press a button and we stream it. Now it's everywhere. I explain it to my kids, they don't understand. It doesn't even fathom. They can't come up with it. Like, what do you mean you didn't click a button? It didn't just pop up on your phone? I didn't have a phone. What about your tablet? I didn't have a tablet.
Like, and they don't understand. Like, they'll never understand what it's like to watch something not in HD.
Oh no, they don't get it. Well, I watched the A-Team. I do these things, these binges, okay, and I'll start from beginning to end. And sometimes my kids are coming off, they're like, oh, what's this? Why does it look that way? Why is this small box? Who's the guy with the mohawk? Like, this is the A-Team. It's based on a true story. It's happened with a bunch of dudes. Vietnam. It was crazy.
As I'm watching Buffy and Angel with my daughter, there are some things that keep popping up on YouTube, right? And one of the things that they've done, and we've noticed a few issues, but I've never noticed, like people said, they changed it to the wide format. But they said when they did it, you can see cameramen on the side, and there was like, they should not have done it with certain things because you can see the cameraman. Now, I don't understand how that was done. that tells me it must have been in a wider format and then
They
shrunk.
didn't go over it. They were filmed in a wider, but they didn't crop it. They didn't clean it up because
Okay,
originally it wasn't
it was
designed
it was
for
already cropped.
distribution in that. And if for some reason they were really sloppy. What's his name? The director, the creator. What's it? I'm blinking
Joss
on.
Wheaton.
Josh Wheaton brought this up. He was fuming because
Yeah.
he wasn't consulted about this, and he was like, "You didn't go over any of this. Look at all the stuff." And not only that, he said some people weren't. Some characters are in frames that they're not supposed to be in. They're just
Yep.
standing. And he's like, "Well, they didn't even go
And
over." It's like they just
and
grabbed it and then spit it out into the world on Blu-ray.
yeah, and what's funny is that because you watch like one thing on Buffy, like all kinds of things keep populating. And I'll just look at the title, and numerous YouTubers have done a show about how like this is one show they should not have done it because you see multiple cameramen on the side. So,
It
but
needs a
that's
remaster. It just can't,
yeah,
once they jump, they're like, "Oh, the fixed edition," but then you have to bring attention to it. It's like, "Hey, we screwed up." But you know what? We look, see, here we go. We just spent, I don't know, 15 minutes. We haven't even started the episode. We haven't even started the episode. Some people are enjoying this. That's great. This is what it's about. Other people probably just click the fast forward, get to the
yeah.
show.
So
You know,
please, if you like this type of banter, and we're gonna give this to you for the next 40 minutes or so, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're working our way up there. We're almost at 100,
yep,
right? We're almost
yep.
into triple
Almost
digits.
there. That's it. And we're proving it. We're telling you guys we're creating content. We're doing this stuff, but we want to earn it. We want to earn
Yeah.
your likes and your subs and all that stuff. So you see, this is legit. This is what we're doing. We're not just
And
trying to
yeah,
get.
this is what you see. This is who we
Yeah,
are. Now,
this is who we are.
before we get into this episode, there
Oh
was a
yes.
comment that was left, and it was, I believe, addressed to me, and I
Mhm.
believe it's Tizzle80. Now, that was my son. If you heard that, I don't know why he's playing video games, so he has to be loud. So Tizzle80 it basically says, I don't know who told you that you can join the Navy and not know how to swim. If you don't pass the swim test in boot camp, you get kicked out. Now, perhaps that's how it is now. And again, I did not serve. This was something that my dad had told me that there were many sailors that did not know how to swim. My dad does know how to swim. My dad's his thing was, hey, if you go down in the ocean, you're not swimming to land. But both my brother-in-law and father-in-law both served in the Navy, and neither one of them can swim. So however they got around it, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about, you know, my ex-father-in-law, he would have been serving around the Vietnam era time. And
Okay.
then my brother-in-law, I mean, he was older than me before he was older than me. He passed away. So he would have just turned 60, I think. So I don't know if times have changed. I don't know if there was a workaround, but I don't understand how you don't know how to swim either.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what I have been told. And I know two people that served in the Navy that didn't know how to swim. Now, they weren't Navy SEALs, that's for sure. um,
Imagine
so
that. He's like, you dive off the boat. You say, "Yo, Jimmy just sank to the bottom." I was like, what is going on? He's like, he didn't know how to swim. What? How did he get this far?
he has all the guns.
Exactly. He's got the map.
He's got the map.
We're screwed.
um so again, I did not serve, and I'm not doubting what you have to say. I just know what I have been told by a couple different more than a couple people that served in the Navy.
Oh,
Again, I don't have firsthand
yeah.
experience. So, and again,
Yeah.
my
The only
dad and
thing
my father-in-law
the
was
only thing I
by the way.
mentioned, because that commenter mentioned that they do train you. There are people that enlist and don't know, and they get
Yes.
taught. So I was thinking, well, maybe that was it. Maybe what they were trying to say is, well, when they joined, they didn't know how to swim, but then they eventually learned how to swim while
But
they.
if you were, I would assume if you're in a time that they need sailors or soldiers or Marines or airmen, they're going to pass you. And like I said, you're on a boat. You're not swimming. You're not tugging the boat by swimming. You're on the boat. And like I said, you go down. Again, it seems kind of odd to me too,
Yeah,
but that's all that I know. And again, I don't know that much. I like G.I. Joe. I collect G.I. Joe. Um, but it's not in their file cards.
And guess what?
How
The
well
Joes
they
can't swim either. I throw them in the tub and they sink to the bottom.
they can't
So
shoot, I'll tell you that much,
they
not on the
can't shoot.
cartoon.
They're cross-eyed. They can't do anything right. And just so someone doesn't hit me up in the comments, I was joking. A team I know is not real, a true story. I'm just saying. Okay, because I know there's somebody who's like, how could this guy think that's real?
And before anyone says no one would think that, believe me, there's
Yes.
a reason why there is warnings on everything. Because at some point somebody sued, somebody said, hey, that wasn't true. So yes, we know the A Team is not based on a true story. Because it would be really cool if it was.
I always found it funny that throughout the whole season, multiple seasons, no one really makes a mention of Mr. T's chain collection around his neck. Whenever they go against enemies that get beat up, no one says, man, I'm going to rob you for all. They're robbing banks. They're stopping all these criminals. They're locking them up. No one is grabbing the chains off this man's neck. Oh, boy.
The funniest thing about Mr. T, even though, I mean, we know he's a real tough guy in real life. He was a bouncer.
Yeah, that he
wasn't a really, he was muscular. He was not a tall guy. So it's not like he was really looking down on him. A lot of times, like those bad guys were actually taller than him. They weren't as big. And even as a kid, that kind of made me laugh. It wasn't like Hulk Hogan, where Hulk was always, I mean, the guy was 6'8", looking down on people. That's why him fighting Andre was such a big deal, because he's actually had to look up at Andre. So
yeah.
But we are way off topic.
Yeah, we are way off topic. But here we go. All right, let's just dive into it. Here we go. Funeral with a friend. So it starts off with Kevin and Harry. And already Kevin's talking about, this is a trap. If you don't remember, we find out that Richie has invited the whole entire family, and friends, everybody from the Harrigan, the crew, to the funeral and the wake. To everything.
And he insisted they all come.
Yes. Now that's
it wasn't. This was not a. We would like you to be here. This was a. You guys are going to be here, or else you're showing your disrespect.
That's the way I took it. But then when later on in the episode, when they have that sit down meeting, and he was like, yeah, I invited you, but you actually showed up. So you earn my respect. So then that's
that would have been disrespectful if they didn't show up. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. I guess you're right.
And probably would have shown more that, hey, you guys clearly had something to do with this.
Yeah, but definitely Harry's like, no, he doesn't think this is so much of a trap, because there's just going to be too many eyes. Clearly the police are going to watch and take pictures, because this is two big gangs meeting. There's they all know the Stevensons is a gang operation and all that stuff.
Well,
so
yeah,
they're going to be
we
there.
see the police officers like surveillancing it the whole time too.
Yeah.
Which I find kind of funny. Like, no one sees them, or do they just ignore them?
Well, not only they hear it. We hear it. We hear the flashes. Like,
I don't think they're that close.
I know, but we hear it. That, at least in the episode. Go ahead, people. Rewatch that part when they get off.
Well, they do.
When they hit to the wake, and you hear it. It's like, is that a paparazzi? But why would paparazzi show up unless it's, I don't know. The whole thing is weird. But then we see another little scene real quick where Harry calls Jan, or vice versa. They're on the phone.
Conrad first calls him, said, I want both of you here. And then you quickly get to Jan calling Harry. Talk about an awful position if you're Jan. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, you needed to see that solicitor and get that divorce. All right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The solicitor. I love that.
I remember the name.
Get that on his shirt. I want a shirt that says solicitor, and just roam the streets and see how people react to me. They're probably like, "What are you selling?" I'm a solicitor, lawyer, Bedoy.
Maybe that can be our first shirt. The TV solicitor.
Oh, there you go. Let me copyright this. I gotta go to the copyright website. Got a patent there, and it's the TV solicitor. Oh, but apparently they had another meeting, or they were supposed to go to a meeting. He can't make that one, but he explains that we're going to be busy because we're going to a funeral. We're going to Tommy's funeral. First thing out of Jan's mouth, that's a trap. What are you talking about? We can't do that. He's like, no, and then that's where he comes. There's going to be people there and eyes. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. So then she hangs up, and then she makes a comment. She tells Gina, the daughter, it's like, what do I wear to a funeral? She says, a flight jacket.
which that made me giggle. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was like a little schoolgirl when I heard that. I kind of giggled. And then we go to the credits, and I just want to reiterate. I really like these credits. This is not the type of music that I would listen to. It's clearly some sort of rap. Again, my name is a punk with toys.
What, you
So
don't listen? What? You don't know the
I'm
hippity
not
hop
saying
from
I'm
the
not saying
UK?
I dislike rap. I do like some of the older stuff, like old Run DMC, Public Enemy, stuff like that. I don't really care about anything.
You're not up with the times, is what you're getting.
I'm a
You're
punk
not.
rocker. All right.
Gotcha.
It is not a punk with toys. It is a punk rocker with toys. Play on words. But
Gotcha.
I do like this. I love the opening. It really has that noir feel to it. And it tells you everything that this show is about. And I said this on our first episode: guns, violence, all that stuff. So um, that's enough of that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely got a cool vibe. I know that song only from an FC game, playing all these games, and it's on
Oh,
the
you actually know
soundtrack.
the song. It's not just
I
a
know.
regular.
No, it's a real song.
I
It's a
thought it was
real.
song opening.
Yeah, no, it's a real song. I'm not
Okay.
familiar with the artist. I still listen to a lot of '80s hair metal bands, and you guys haven't seen it. One of these episodes, you'll see I'll let my
I
hair
saw
down. It's like,
you did show it to me, and I was kind of
yeah,
that
no
sounded
one
really
is.
dirty, guys. I'm sorry. That sounded really dirty.
Oh boy,
Um,
but yeah, no, but no, it's a real artist. But it's a popular song. It's a big song, and it works. It works well for
it
this
does.
show and the intro and the way they do it. And I do like the fact we never really brought it up, but the fact that how the intro comes in after about a few minutes of show.
Yeah.
So it's not right at the beginning. It's like da 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 da. No. That you get some show and then it sprinkles it in.
Yep.
So that's cool. So yeah, the next scene is pretty much everyone in the kitchen. We got Maeve, we got Harry, we got our best character ever, Eddie. He's there. We got Conrad showing up. Kevin's there. They're there to talk about a plan, to come up with a
Yeah.
plan.
And I am so over Eddie, and I'm kind of over Maeve too, to be 100%
Oh,
honest.
what?
They're both really starting to annoy me. Um, and I'm gonna call my shot. I think they're both. I think they both don't make it out of the season,
Mm,
and at
I
least one
yeah.
of them I think is gone for sure.
And one that I think even Maeve or even though see now this is where I get confused with this because was a few episodes back if it wasn't the last one at some point. It was that time with the conversation when Conrad was on the phone and he referred to the Seraphina and then Brandon and she
Yeah.
corrected him. It's like, no, it's Brandon Seraphina because of he's older and that's my son. But then here it is. Brandon calls to talk to Conrad, finds out what's going on. Oh, there's a big meeting because we're all going to the funeral. I didn't know about this. And then Maeve's like, let me talk to him.
We were all invited.
Yeah, we were all invited. I didn't know anything. Got to go. Pretty much saying, yeah, but you weren't invited. And
Yes.
she made it seem before like she puts him in high regard. She holds him in high regard. But then in this interaction, it's more like, no. You're not that important. You don't need to be here.
Again, I think a lot of it goes to the fact that she knows that he's a complete screw up.
Yeah.
And even though it's her son, it's their son, where Seraphina is his daughter, not hers.
Mhm.
Um, she also knows he has no reason to be there. Conrad has made it perfectly clear. This guy has lost me millions of dollars, and
Yeah.
I would say he's probably one step above Eddie on Conrad's totem pole right now.
Yep. And before we go on, I just realized I'm looking at my notes. Oh, I forgot to bring this up during that conversation. We did get an answer to a burning question. And that was with Harry and Jen were on the phone, and Jen was asking everyone that's going to be there at the funeral, and she then says, "Is Bella going to be at the funeral?" And
Yep.
Harry's like, "Yes." Why bring that up? And that goes our theory. They must have
Well,
had an affair or something, and Jen knows about this.
either an affair or maybe they had something before she was with. Harry seems way too loyal, and also it's also Conrad's sloppy seconds. I don't know if Harry wants those sloppy seconds too.
I don't know.
But
I mean,
Jan does make the comment, and I'm not going to say it, but she goes, she says something about like, I was contemplating suicide anyway.
Yeah. She was saying that. We do have some questions. We have that question. We
Yeah,
still don't know Maria's mom. Hell, what's up with Maria? I don't even think we know anything about Maria. Remember with the old home? Why does that
yeah,
matter in this story? It plays a part, obviously, at some point, but they're playing the long game with that because they just keep saying it in passing, like we're supposed to know.
yeah. And I
But
don't, I don't know if we really need. I don't know if they feel like we need to know so much who she is to them. We need to know who they find in that nursing home. That was that buildup.
oh
The
yeah,
buildup is to
that's
find out.
exactly. Yeah. That's it. I mean, I'm still
Is
trying
it
to figure out
Is his name Rugby?
Rusby.
Rusby, something
That's
like that?
yeah, Rusby. I don't know.
He's
Wild
not in
name.
the
Who
credits.
knows?
That's what I know.
Not in the credits. And yeah, he's
So,
just in the bad memories of Kevin.
yep.
But yeah, the gist of this is that they meet up. They have to come up with a plan and they just really think about this. Like, what can Richie do? What do you think, Harry? And I was like, well, we already know Harry gave the rundown before. People this and that. But then he says, hey, the guy lost his son. So technically, he could be a loose cannon. Anything
Yeah.
is possible. But don't worry, I got a plan. I got a plan. We're
Yeah.
gonna pull a
He
scene
thinks,
from The Godfather here.
yeah.
We're going to get someone to smuggle guns. Go ahead.
Yeah. He feels like they are pretty much safe. If it's out in the open, they would be stupid to start it, but you just never know. And Harry says, you know, he could have taken me down anytime that he wanted as an eye for an eye. And that's when this little prick, I think I'm just going to start referring to him as this little prick. He says, you're not a you're not a Harrington. Wouldn't that be an eye for a toe?"
Oh,
And this is where I drop my F bomb. His dad tells him to shut the fuck up,
yeah.
which once again leads me to believe, is this guy really Kevin's or is it Conrad's son?
I think that's if we go into a second season with this, I could see
Yeah.
that as being a big reveal, throwing some flashbacks, find out what's going on here.
Because he specifically said, like, when and his dad did not want anything done to him. He said, "When was the last time you saw Conrad act like that?"
Yeah. But then
He's like,
again,
I'm tired of this little like this kid is
he's too
he
much.
is the vein of all their
He's
problems
yeah, he's
because of
definitely.
Maeve.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So, and we see a little bit more too when we get to the funeral. Um, and I'll just say Harry doesn't seem to be too impressed with him either.
No. Well, and that's the problem here. It's all because of Eddie. Eddie's to blame for all of this, but yet
Well, I think
we don't.
Maeve is to blame,
Well, we
but
don't. They don't know that, but they all
they,
know that
they all
Eddie
know
is the
Eddie
one.
is.
No, they
And
just think he's an idiot and he just did
yeah,
this all on his own. They're not even. They don't see what we saw with
yep.
the whole Maeve saying, "Hey, you did good," and he was like, "Oh," Eddie was saying, "Oh, are you sure this was the right thing to do?" Yeah. No, this is good. Everybody needed this. So they don't know that she's behind all this. We do, but they don't.
So after they decide that they're gonna go and they're gonna smuggle some guns in, um, we get a shot of Seraphina, um, and she gets a call from Brendan.
And real quick, does she deal with jewelry? Is that her
Yeah,
jewelry shop or something? That's what.
I don't know
Okay,
if it's her. I don't know if it's hers. I'm assuming that it is because
she was doing appraisals and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
and she's the one who he's basically asking her for the money. Um, so yeah, so we see them. He calls her, then we see him show up for lunch, and then we quickly go to Harry loading the car.
that
And
was
there's
so funny.
what the hell are you gonna do with grenades? I'm sorry, like you're gonna kill everyone, including yourselves.
I guess I was thinking either throw it or maybe just use it as a threat. Like I have a grenade. I have a
Yeah,
grenade. If you
their
do
house
that,
ain't that big, but
uh,
we did see a grenade work at the end of Reacher. So
yeah, hey, grenades. I mean, everybody needs to have one, right? But man, that was yeah, I was surprised by that with the whole grenade.
and this is also where so we go to Harry loading the car, and then Eddie says, you know, tells Conrad his grandfather that he thinks is a bad idea, and he tells him no one asked you.
Mhm.
You can see a huge conflict
Oh yeah.
that I mean, Kevin is the one that is supposed to take over this family.
But then again, Maeve jumps in, and I was like, no. Eddie brings up a good point there. It's like she doesn't want to blow him off. She still puts him in this, and I think
Yeah.
it's all because she can control him.
Oh, she
So,
controls him all right. It's a
yeah.
little, little creepy.
Oh, she is a creepy grandma. She is so creepy.
So then we see Brendan and Seraphina at lunch, and Brendan has this uncut diamond. Do you remember how big? I think he said it was like 8 to 12 carats
Yeah,
uncut.
he shows it off, and it's some fancy. She was like, "Your contact shouldn't even have this. How did
He's
you
like,
get this?"
"Are you proposing to me?" And
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
already seen that he already has some.
yeah. He's got some little. He's just a dirty guy, and he
Yeah, and this is
says inappropriate things to his half
half
sister.
sister or not, it's still related in some way, right?
Makes me wonder if they ever lived together though, like under one roof. If that was ever a thing, maybe she always lived with her bio
Her
mom.
mom, and he
Yeah,
just more than
and
likely, then he just paid, and then when she got to
yeah,
be of age,
yeah, and then it was like, all right, I'll bring you into the business or do something, or I don't know. It's definitely something like that going on here. But during that same time though, we find out he's like a wine connoisseur. Remember, he's drinking his wine and
yeah,
gurgling at it and sniffing it and doing all the stuff that people who are into wine do. And I'm like, all right, they're showing us this for a reason. This is
or
gonna come
drunks
up.
too.
Yeah, well, I think drunks just know, you want to see a
Yeah,
wine out, break the wine out type of situation. They don't really care. They look,
but then quickly before the end of this scene, we get a we get a shot of Kevin having these flashbacks of what the hell was the guy's name again?
Rusby,
Yeah,
Rusby. That's the way I wrote it down. Rusby.
yeah, and we're clearly seeing now. I had the question to you, and you said I think he just he suppressed his feelings on it, but this
Yeah,
guy was clearly um
he raped him.
raping him. We can't
Yeah,
say that word, graping
yeah,
him.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was
Craping. Yeah,
raping.
he was doing harmful things to him, and he brings it up. So
Yeah,
for those of viewers that were like, no, maybe not. Well, the guy clearly says how you feeling.
yeah.
So
That's about
that
his
way,
rear end.
exactly. So there's no question that's what's happening. So yeah, like when you brought up before, I think when Harry first brought up the name, he probably was like, no, I don't. And then when we see later on, he's probably thinking about it during the drive. And then he even says it later on. I think he hadn't heard that name or thought about it
Yeah.
in decades. So it was out of sight, out of mind. And when that name brought up and he started thinking about it, it just triggered. And so
Yep.
everything just came forward. And that's horrible. It's horrible.
And again, here's a guy who is, his dad is one of the biggest crime bosses. And clearly, I would say this before Conrad was who he was. He must have been working his way up. And they were still crime bosses, but not where he's at now. But then it quickly switches back to Brendan and
Seraphina.
Seraphina, where he says, "Hey, I have 20 more of these. The problem is I need the money."
Yeah. Yeah. He needs the money. He's like, oh, we can do this. And then she was like, all right, well, I want 75% of this deal. I was
Yep.
like, "Why you're never gonna get that 50?" He's like, "Nope, 75." And he says, "Well, you're my half sister." He's like, "Yeah, you're my half brother. You're 25% or something like that." I was like, "Oh,
No, you're 25% my
yeah,
25% my brother.
you're 25% my brother." Oh, that was great. But we don't know if they make the deal.
Nope.
That's the thing.
That's the
It
last we
cuts
see of them
away.
this episode.
That's it. That's it. He's out of it. But we don't know if they made that deal.
It also makes me wonder. They can kind of explain why Brendan wasn't there if they were to ask. But I would assume also that they know that they're not part of the family. But
Mm,
Seraphina, they might not know about.
yeah.
She may just be that hidden little.
Yeah, but then also he doesn't bring that, so I wonder if that lunch because again, this show's pretty good with timing with things, but this
Yeah,
one it throws things off a little bit because then he doesn't bring up, "Hey, Seraphim, are you going to that get together for the family for the funeral?" They don't even talk about that. That doesn't even come up on
at the
this.
time I actually like Maeve. She
Yep.
she made me laugh because she pretty much tells him you're a screw up.
Mhm. Because I before I go off, Seraphina is at the funeral, right? Because
No,
When Conrad, no, it's just Bella and everyone. Because I remember when he was giving, maybe that's it. Yeah, it was just Bella. and
Yeah,
Kevin.
Bella was there. Kevin,
Yeah. All right.
Jan.
Okay, so
and-
they didn't know, but they don't even bring it up. Is the point?
Yeah.
During their lunch, it doesn't come up. So I'm wondering if that happened prior to Brandon calling Conrad, and because I would think that's something you bring up. It's like, hey, you heard about this whole funeral thing? Because everyone's talking about it.
So the next scene here, we had Harry meeting with Freddy Shaw, and there's a lot that's revealed here.
Yeah, did I couldn't remember what he's talking about. Well, you threw your phone and I found it. Well, when did that happen? This isn't the same guy that was in the car in the first episode with Tommy and Eddie, and Eddie grabbed the phone and threw it out. So
No,
where
I
is
think
he?
this is the guy that he pulls the mask off of, isn't it?
I don't know, but he didn't take his phone.
I th- I think what they did was he either got the phone or they cloned it somehow.
He said because he said I
He
found the
was at
phone
my
you chucked, and it wasn't that hard to figure out your password because it was 1, 2,
one.
3, 4, 5, 6 or something like that. But it was basically straight numbers.
All right, you heard that. Please tell me
Yes.
what you heard in your mind was. Tell us the code in Spaceballs. 1, 2.
He's like, really?
Anytime I hear that, that's all that I think about.
Oh
It's
man,
Spaceballs, Planet Druidia.
so bad. It's so bad. But and also go ahead in that same comment though, down below, please tell us where did he get
What
this
is your
phone?
code? What,
Well, tell us your code to
what
your
is
phone.
your phone code?
Yeah, what's your
Mine is.
favorite?
Also, we need your social security number and
Exactly.
mother's maiden name.
I have a buddy who calls me up, and every time he calls, he says, "Yeah, hi, I need your social to send you some money." And he always starts off with that, and it never gets old. I always crack up, and I give him some crazy. But yeah, go ahead in the comments. Let us know where did this whole thing come up with Freddie and the phone. I don't remember somebody throwing the phone out because he says Harry clearly says, "Hey, I found the phone that you tried to get rid of, and I was able to unlock it." Because he's trying to use Freddie, because Freddie is close with Richie and all of them to
Yeah.
smuggle in that bag of guns and a grenade that we mentioned. And so he's like, I'm not doing it. You can't tell me to do that.
Yeah, and he starts off saying, "Hey, we know you're not happy."
Yeah. And it's like, how do you know that? How do you know that? Oh, let
So
me
then
see.
he
I
starts,
got these cool pictures.
I like that he goes, "Here's a picture of the mini bar." I don't understand why anyone would take a picture of a mini bar.
I do. I do know. Because you want proof. If they try to add
Yeah.
something on the bill and say,
Okay.
hey, you drank these 2 little JDs that were in them, like, correction, sir. There was only 1 JD, because that's how they they have their own checklist of what's in the
Yeah.
mini bar. I've had this happen to me. And they and then they're like, hey, you use this and that. We charge. No. Here's a picture. This is it. This is timestamp. And when I take my pictures, I take it with it still has our clock, your cell phone service, all that, so they can see as a timestamp, not just, hey, this is
Okay.
exactly when I took it, when I checked in. So I think that's why. I could
But
be
that's
wrong.
not. I just found that funny. But then he shows him the Coke lines. But then there's a picture of him in bed with Ron, who
That's
is
wild.
Richie's. Like again, like
I can't
I know
believe
people
this.
cheat. I know people. Why the hell of all the people would you think that sleeping with one of the head mob bosses, one of the mob family's wife is smart? At what point? Like, how dense do you have to be?
I mean, no respect, and also have like the balls this size. For people listening, I'm making big hand gestures, because like you said, this is the boss. This is the big crime
This
boss's
is yeah.
wife. Why? I guess you have to take in consideration that they did do lines of coke. If we follow the order, they were just drugged up, and that's
Wow.
why they did it. But I don't think this was a one-off. I think
No,
they
I
were
know
definitely.
there was no reason for them to have any suspicion. But the Conrads seem to have a good grip on who they're dealing with, from the henchmen to everything. So
Oh man. But yeah, so basically saying you got to bring this in, or else I'm going to expose you with all this stuff. And the guy's like, how am I going to do that? You'll figure it out. Which he
and
does.
Harry's like, you're the weakest link.
Say
Say,
it.
I am the weakest link. And he made him say it. And it shows the power that Harry has. Harry has more power over everyone other than family members on both sides. He's the one with the power of all the henchmen. He is like the top dog.
He's the fixer.
Yep.
He's Wolf from Pulp Fiction. Remember, he just makes things happen. He cleans things up, and look at that. The fact that he could do this and he could crack crazy passwords on phones. I mean, what can this man not do?
Casey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That I would have never thought that. Okay, Lawrence, that was like too much for my brain. I would have gone crazy. Oh boy.
You'd be like, am I really doing a show with someone that dumb?
Oh, man, that's it. Sharp as a marble. That's what's going on here. But all right. So where are we up to now? Phone,
we
right? Jan.
quickly see Jan have a talk with Alice. There's the only time we see Alice. She can't meet because she's going to a funeral.
Yeah, family friend, or she gives some other spiel or excuse, but it's a funeral.
I don't believe she says who it's for, but clearly Alice is working with the police. So as soon as she hangs up, she turns around, like they're in some underground bunker or something, and she's turns around and she's like, they're going to Tommy's funeral.
Yeah, they're gonna go to Tommy's funeral. So I mean, the jury's still out. You say she's a CI. I think she's part of the law enforcement there. I think she's a cop undercover.
I mean, who knows? I don't think it's. I don't think it was told what she is.
No,
now, if it was, tell us in the description. Maybe we missed something. It does happen. So, and then we get just
the drive,
and again, you still see a disconnect between Conrad and Maeve, in my opinion. Maeve is sitting here talking how she likes funerals and how she feels like what Jackie O when.
Oh yeah,
like, I'm sorry.
She got all dressed up, and so she's so excited for all of this. She doesn't. Maybe she is on drugs. Remember, she does carry little Coke baggies in her brassiere. Maybe she's doing the same type of stuff that good old Eddie is.
Harry said, let's not get drunk before we go there. Let's not get drunk and say anything stupid. Now, they probably would have been better off had they been drunk, to be 100% honest, or at least some of them. And Conrad pretty much just tells her to behave.
Yeah.
Which she kind of does to the end, right?
Yeah, kind of. But then she was poked. We'll get to that, but she was definitely poked. It seemed like it, but then again, she did also. Well, we'll get there. But then we see within the other car, Kevin and his family, Bella and Eddie in the back right in the middle, which is funny that shot, the camera shot, he's driving.
Yep. And you see that Kevin truly has this love for Bella. Like he said, if you don't want to go, I'll take you home right now. Like, doesn't care. Like, I will deal with my dad. I will deal with these people if you don't want. No. And then, Eddie just cannot shut up. He just cannot shut up.
Oh no. Well, because Bella, she says, "Well, I trust Harry," and he was like, "Oh, you trust Harry?" And then Kevin's like, "You don't trust me?"
That was
like.
So, I find that kind of weird. Like, because Eddie's like, "Oh, you don't trust Harry," and it's kind of like, well, I would see. I didn't even think anything twice about it because it's like Harry is, like you said, the fixer.
Yeah.
If he says we can go, and then I trust what he has to say. Not that like, oh, I'm gonna run to his arms. Just like he's not gonna be here with his family, and he's the one that takes care of these things.
Yeah.
So, but then Eddie just kind of, oh, you don't trust Harry? You don't like. This kid just is. He's worse than Teresa from Reacher, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't know my feelings on Teresa,
we don't. Teresa could just be just as bad. She didn't have that many lines. That could have been something. It was like, oh, it took you long enough to save me. You're so late, and threw a bunch of F-bombs or something. Too, she could have did that, and then Reacher was like, oh boy, this is what we had to save, huh, Duff? This is what you wanted.
So basically, all we have is these guys just walking.
Well, they're at the wake now. And then this is where when they get out, that's where we hear the camera
Yeah.
flash. We see the police are there. They're taking all their pictures. We see from their perspective. A lot of people there. I can't imagine that they're all gang members because there was other
No.
people. So
You would
lot,
assume they have legit businesses.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, it was there.
And
Really
you had
cool
to launder
scene.
money somehow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely doing some laundry money. But this was an interesting scene. I didn't think we were going to get something like this. But Harry said, come on, Conrad, let's go." And the whole family pretty much goes up to pay their respects to Richie and Ron, that are at the front of
And
the church area.
yeah. And they're all pretty respectful. Maeve is kind of like on the fence there.
Mhm, mhm.
They all say they're sorry. And then this prick, and again, this guy, he's doing a wonderful job of being an actor to make me just think he's a prick.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if I saw him, I would be like, I hate you. And he might be the nicest guy in the world, but I'm be like, dude, you're a prick.
Yeah.
He calls.
First, he has
calls,
his sunglasses still on. That's a sign of dis. Take your glasses off. You're talking. See eye to eye. That type of thing. No, he
but he
approaches with
calls him
sunglasses.
Richard, and he says, my name is Richie, or he either says, my name is Richie, or everyone calls me Richie, and he says, yeah, well, my name's Eddie. Like, he's very just this prick about it, and then goes to Ron and
To give her a kiss, like on the cheek, and
yeah.
she just like, get away from me, or says something like that, and she walks off.
And I believe Eddie's doing all this because he feels he has the protection of his grandmother. That Maeve is going to come save him. And that's why I think Maeve is not long for the show. I think she's stepping in it. I really do. And maybe I'll be completely wrong come episode 10. But and then Ron kind of goes racing away. Now, again, she's already completely distraught and, upset over this. And we basically see Harry. What does he tell him? If you do anything like that again, I'll strangle you myself.
Yeah, yeah. He's just like, it's just dumb. It just seems so crazy to do, especially in the situation. You are surrounded by the enemy. Their entire army's there, all their soldiers, everyone's there. And then you pull something like this. This guy, we don't know what's going on in Richie's head. He just lost his son.
And
Anything, and he knows, as we'll get into it, and people right now, that was a big thing. He knows that Eddie is the one.
and he's the one they're all protecting. He is the one they're all putting their lives on the line because of what he did, his actions. And like you said, no one knows other than us, the audience, that Maeve was the one that was behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I said to you during the show, Tommy seemed like this good kid. He just was in a bad family, right? He was just.
Well, they were friends. That's the other thing. I hope we get. I'm not a fan of full backstory episodes and stuff like that, but he was friends with Eddie. They were buddies. They hung out. It wasn't like they just met up at that club or bar and say, "Hey, all right, let's hang out." They actually hang out. So I would like to know how.
Yeah, they were with the two other guys.
Yeah.
So
just figure out that dynamic, because I mean, it seems like Eddie just is not a good guy, and it doesn't seem like the way he acts, it would be.
Oh, he's not a good guy at all.
No, he's not. He's not.
Yeah, and then you pretty much just have Harry walking with him, right?
Going inside the church.
Just so you guys know, they don't give us the stills in the greatest order.
Yeah, it's all right. We got some. Yeah. But they get inside the church. I mean, well, yeah, I guess it's a church, right? Because then you see up at the front of the pew, they bring Tommy's casket up. It's a closed casket, obviously, because what was he stabbed like 50, 60 times?
Yeah.
Don't want to see that. Richie goes up to the front. He's holding a picture, and he starts giving this speech about his house and how he always makes a place for someone when they're welcome in their home or something. But he's staring right at Conrad, and Maeve is like, Maeve, he's looking right at you.
And I gotta say,
she's whispering all this.
This picture of Tommy it's creepy as shit. All right.
Yeah.
It's a creepy picture. All right. He looks like a young, skinny Jay Leno.
Oh man, got the chin and everything. It's like, oh,
Um, and no, we believe that he's staring at them, but he may be looking at something else, and we just don't see a wider shot of who he's actually staring at.
yeah. I think it's just Maeve just poking the bear again. Remember, it's
Yes.
the same thing she did with the whole Archie thing, and right before he went to sit down, it's like, yeah, you mentioned fire, and and I see how his eyes and see the.
Yeah.
She just keeps poking it. She wants this to happen. She wants this war between Conrad and Richie to happen.
But either right before this or right after this, as they're walking in, we see Eddie go upstairs. Like he sneaks off and goes upstairs.
Yeah, it was right before. No, that's once we get to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right after this. So they get to right before that happened. So just so they give a heads up, so we could see everyone gets checks for weapons. They go through a
Oh
metal
yeah.
detector, right? So that way we already know no one's packing. And it was good
Yeah.
that they threw that in there because then what does it matter if you're sneaking in a weapon? No one's checking you. So, but no, everyone's getting checked once they get in there. But then Eddie goes in, he runs upstairs. If you want, you go with that one, yeah.
Yeah. And again, we're walking by the same picture again here. But yeah. So he goes upstairs, he starts looking for stuff, and then he lines a couple lines of coke. This guy is something else.
He doesn't care.
And as he's doing it, we can see in the mirror Harry showing up right next to him. Which is really think God, Harry's a much better person than me. Because I would have just knocked this kid out.
He needs. I would think at some point he would have asked for permission to just slap the kid around a little bit, like
I
say,
think
"Hey,
Kevin
listen,
would have given it to him.
because I think that's the other reason why Eddie acts the way he does because he feels
Yes.
like, well, it's not like Harry can do anything to me, and Harry doesn't have any authority on that level
Yeah,
to touch him.
And like I said early on in one of the other episodes, I feel like it is like Kevin, then Harry, then Seraphina, and somewhere down the line is Brendan. Way down the line.
But he says some snarky remark Eddie does to Harry, and then Harry just pretty much like slowly slams him against the mirror that's there. And then we see that Eddie pulls out like nail scissors.
There were nail scissors there, and he starts reaching for them.
Yeah, and he's like,
Like
really?
that's what he's going to
Nail
use to
scissors?
defend
This what
himself.
you're gonna do?
And Harry's
Yeah,
Harry sees it and goes, "Really?
Mhm.
Really? Nail scissors? That's..." And then you see him kind of like put it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, Eddie also did tell him to F off.
Yeah.
Because Eddie thinks he's like untouchable.
He does.
The only
And
reason why he's
he's
untouchable is because of Harry so far.
Mhm.
Now, this is something this guy should be thanking him every single time he sees him.
Yeah. It's just I don't know what they're going to do with this whole thing because like I said, they should have had at least Harry should have some kind of permission to better control, but it doesn't look like Conrad or anyone care, which is why it makes it seem like if anything does happen to Eddie, it's going to be from Richie and his crew because unless I can't see Harry just saying, you know what, I'm going to kill him and just blame Richie.
And we saw the same problem. We saw the same problem in Reacher. Like, I think it'd be pretty noticeable in these houses where there's these parties and gangsters if someone just decided to veer off and go upstairs.
Yeah, nobody paid attention to that.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention that this guy just
two of them made it upstairs.
But not that
Eddie, but Harry.
But this also lets us know that Harry's been to that house before.
Yeah.
Because he knows what's upstairs. So
or he just watched yeah, well, Eddie, but Harry probably just watched him.
Yeah.
So,
but the best is right when he lets go, Harry lets go and says, "Come downstairs and be a man."
Yeah.
Be a man.
He's the whole reason why they're there. And then we see Harry going into the garage, which once again is nobody watching these doors.
They're too busy feeling sad and talking
you
about
would
horrible
assume
things
these
that happened.
bodyguards would be like,
It was a change of shift.
"Whoa,
Change of
change
shift.
this shit."
Mhm. Change of shift. Bobby had to go to the bathroom. Tony didn't show up yet. He's running late. He was just at the wake. He had to clean things up. But either way, it gets to the point. I was really hoping they would find a sneaky way of doing it. But yeah, it was just right there in the garage
Yeah,
for everything else.
and he got a couple grenades, couple pistols.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
now they have some sort of protection if need be.
yeah, yeah. They're getting ready. They're getting ready. All right, you go.
And then Conrad is like, when Harry doesn't get back, Conrad is like, Richie, go find out why. Go
Yeah, Harry. Yeah,
he
because
tells
he
Harry,
sees
go find
Richie's.
out why. Yeah, go find out why Richie is staring at me. And he says he's not staring at you. And she says, "Don't you tell me who's staring at me." Which Harry then says, "Okay, he's staring at you."
Yeah, it's one of those. Where did I
I was
see
like,
some?
"Didn't you say that?" Like that's what it sounded like to me.
I feel like it reminded me of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. There was a scene similar to that, and it was like, oh, she was staring right at him. Oh boy! But yeah, it's definitely something's happening here. Yeah.
So,
So, yeah,
oh, go on.
I don't know. We were all staring at. This is when Maeve. This
Yeah,
is when
now
Maeve.
this is the most genuine that Maeve is in the series so far,
Oh.
where she actually goes over there to say condolences, even though she's the one who set it up for him to get killed. So,
She goes up to Veron to say
Ron,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. And Veron just starts spewing the insults. Like she doesn't believe, she doesn't think this is genuine. She was like, I didn't even want your family here. This is all Richie's idea.
yeah.
I don't get why and the whole thing. And then she goes to walk off, and then that's when Veron makes a comment to her friends. I don't know how Conrad does, that with her. Like, how does he even lay down with her type of deal?
Yeah.
And Maeve hears this and she is fuming. And what was it? When she's walking by, she bumps into someone. But then I thought
No,
that was Freddy.
no, Eddie bumps the guard.
But she didn't Maeve hit somebody too. I could have sworn on her way she just shoved somebody, and I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah,
the guard.
yeah. She shoves some people out of her
Oh,
way,
so it wasn't the all right. So it was
and
different.
then we see here, or then we see Kevin come up to her and give her a drink, and we saw Kevin had put something in the drink.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
he knew that she was
were-
going to cause a problem.
Mhm. They're trying to set this up. And then that's when Eddie bumps into Freddy and he gets a little hot headed with him. They exchange some words. And then what was it?
They
Someone
all
yeah.
they're all basically saying, "Well, what you're going home now,"
Mhm.
and Eddie
Someone
offers, or Richie
Richie.
offers to have someone drive him home. His
Freddy.
mom,
Freddie will drive him home. Don't worry.
his
It's good.
mom's not gonna have any of it. She'll take, and then that's when he says, "Let's have a talk."
Yeah.
Right?
This was it. Let's go in the back. But then they start calling people to go with them. So it wasn't going to be a one-on-one. At first I thought
Yeah.
it was going to be a one-on-one. But then he's like, oh no, all right. Harry, come. And then that's when Richie brings his people. And then we get that cool scene where they're sitting at the table, but you got all their henchmen on either side behind them.
So this is kind of where you start to wonder things. Like, Conrad, he takes Kevin, who is clearly number 2 in line, and he takes Harry, who is like his general. Well, I don't know who, who Richie is,
Paul.
bringing. He's just
No,
bringing
no, no.
goons, right?
No, he doesn't have goons. That's right. Paul is the only, he has just got Freddy. I mean, who else is he? He just got goons. So, yeah, you're right. I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter who they are, at least not at this point.
Yeah. But like these two guys that Conrad has, these are guys that, one is going to take over, and one is going to basically be the gladiator. He's Maximus Vermidius. I don't know how to say his name, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
He was the general.
Maximus.
And this is a very interesting. This is one of the most intense. This is the most intense show or intense episodes without that much action till the end.
Because the whole time we're thinking something's gonna happen. We first thought maybe at the wake, nothing happened at the wake. Well, now
Yeah.
we're at the house. This is it. This is the after, and no, we get this though. We get this. It's like,
And Richie says, I don't want a war. But I know you guys know what happened. He said, you set that guy up, stabbing him, like you set him up.
yeah, I
Now,
know he
not
didn't do it.
realizing he is the one that did it.
Yeah, yeah. He
But
did do it, but he knows that he did it on behalf of
yeah.
Eddie. So
Uh, and that's when Richie says, I don't want a war, but I might wake up tomorrow and feel differently. But you guys showed up here, so I have respect for that.
mhm, mhm.
But
Yeah,
pretty
he
much
made that
tells
little
them,
comment about you being Conrad being nervous. Asked him if he was nervous. He's like, no, no, not nervous.
yeah. And we definitely have Richie say, you know what? I'm letting Eddie leave. He gets his life. But if I ever see him anywhere, that's it. And he doesn't care where it's at. He sees him out in public. It's pretty much the end of Eddie. Which I don't blame him, right?
No,
I'm
definitely.
not
I
the
mean,
only one that's like, good for you, Richie.
yeah, the fact that he knows and he's still. I don't know if I was Richie, I probably wouldn't. At first, I wouldn't have invited this family over. I was like, you know what? This is war. You killed my kid. Now I'm going to kill this kid. He's a prick. Everyone hates him anyway. And rightfully so. He's bad. He's causing all these problems. But as we see, Maeve is the one pulling the strings, and it looks like Conrad just goes along with everything. He's not really thinking too much about all this stuff. It all goes back to the fentanyl and stuff like that. It just seems like Conrad's just going with the flow.
And it's weird because
Yeah,
it's his family.
it's his
This is
family. Yeah,
his business. And Seraphina made that perfectly clear. Hey, I'm actually blood. You're not.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but it makes me wonder if the reason why he invited them is he wasn't sure what he was going to do till they actually got there.
Mhm.
Maybe this is him right here deciding what he's going to do, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because he had mentioned about the two other rival gangs or whatever that were dealing with some issues, remember?
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't care about that. And I think that's what he's talking about from the first scene of episode 1 and what took place there with that, where they both got wiped out, those
Yeah.
gangs, And so I think that maybe Richie doesn't know that
That is
Conrad
right.
had
We
something.
kind of forgot they wiped out
Two rival gangs that were there, they were
rival
trying to be the moderators of, and then they were like, forget it. And they just like wiped them out and said, we're going to divide up their properties or their land and all that stuff.
um,
But then the best part of this is what we don't get, because Richie was like, hey, do we have a deal to Conrad? And then it cuts to nighttime and we see that Conrad's out there doing some fly fishing.
which really didn't last long. That was like literally a cut.
Yeah, yep. It was just a cut. He was there, but hey, he's really quick too. With fly fishing, he went in, he caught a trout. Man, that's it. Fish at night. Fish at night. So he goes in. He sees Maeve, and she's like, "Oh, I'm hung over or something wrong." He's like, "Yeah,
He
yeah,
ends
you
up
drank
on
a
the
lot."
couch.
Yeah, yeah. And she was, someone roofied me. That was funny. I was like, but you know what? You're right. I don't know if it was a roofie, but
But Conrad doesn't know because Conrad's like, you just drink a lot. No, and she knows. I'm assuming she knows how much she can drink. But Conrad, now whether or not he told Kevin to do it, I kind of feel like, well, I could go either way. Because Kevin is smart enough to know, like, hey, mom's a problem.
yeah,
But
definitely a
then she's
problem.
pissed about the insult. She was insulted. I mean, God forbid that she just had her son, the woman's son killed, but she insulted her by saying, "Can you believe Conrad sleeps with this?"
Yeah.
Which I kind of laughed at, but
Yeah. But she goes to leave. She calls Paul, and then we get the montage where we're seeing all the main characters. Everyone seems to be okay. They're all calm. There's some music
Eddie
playing.
vaping,
Yeah,
showing that
Eddie's
he's a
vaping.
douchebag that way.
Life is good. He's got no worries. I don't think he works or goes to school or anything. He's just chilling. We got Harry and Jan. They're happy. He's home.
Kevin's drinking.
Kevin's boozing. Everything is great. Yeah, and then that's when we get this scene with Vaughn, and she's all dressed up, getting ready. She's like, "I'm going to the shop." She tells Richie. Richie's still like half asleep or drunk or whatever. It's like whatever, it's fine. And we knew instantly what was going to happen because we just felt it. We just felt it.
Yes.
The music stops. This is it. She says she's going shopping. She puts on her glasses, and she
Well, no,
walks.
we have Maeve call Paul.
Well, yeah, that's what I have here
Yeah.
before the montage. That's why I have. She called Paul, and then we got the
Oh
montage.
yeah, you're right.
Yep. Because then it was like, oh, everything seems to be calm and stuff. And then she walks to her car, and then once she
And I
gets
said it
in,
right before, right? I said, that thing's blowing up.
yeah, oh yeah, this is it.
I mean, I think again, I wasn't. No, I'm not a psychic. I mean, I think we all could see exactly.
You're not Miss
what was about
Cleo?
to
What?
happen. With Dionne Warwick.
Right? Oh, yeah. Oh man, all the memories.
That's what we got to watch at 2:00 in the morning or on
Oh,
Saturdays. Those stupid
it was
infomercials
on
with
Coffee
Dionne Warwick.
Now. Oh man, did you know she was on Broadway, Miss Cleo, before she started doing that? Somewhere in like
Really?
Portland area or something. Yeah, I saw this whole documentary about how she was into acting and she did all this Broadway or off Broadway shows over in
She was always on
Portland area.
Montel Williams. Isn't that the one that was always on Montel Williams?
No, it was the woman with the long nails. She had the long nails, the other psychic lady.
Okay.
She was always on Montel. They would bring on. I remember it's like every Wednesday. Why do I know this? I don't know. I didn't record. This is something I did not put on my VCR. But
I used to love Montel Williams, and I just remember he had an episode that this guy he would discipline his son or his wife. I forget what it was, and he said, "Why don't you hit me how you hit him?" And he hit him, and he said, "I'll tell you right now, if you ever hit me like that, I would have beat your ass." Because he was like, yeah, he was like, he let the guy hit him to show him how, and he basically said, "Yeah, you ever hit me like this, I'd beat your ass."
Wow. Well, I know he was in the military. He was in the military. There was,
yes, and he was a big ripped guy. He was in the Navy, I believe. Anyway, that's
there we go. See, we go on another ramble on this one. But hey, this was the end of the episode. The car blows up. Now we know. This is war. So it doesn't matter if Conrad had agreed to the deal and a handshake.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't matter. This is war now. This is war. You took out Tommy. Now you took out Vaughn. Richie is going to go all out. He's going to call his buddy Freddy. Freddy's going to be like, I'm crying because I was having an affair with your wife. Now she's dead. Now I'm really sad. I can't help you. Richie's going to realize he has no friends. It's going to be bad.
And this leads into, they said it, an eye for an eye. So an eye for an eye would be Eddie losing his life and then Maeve losing her life by the end of the season. And then all's even. Now, I don't know how you set up an antagonist for the next season, but
oh, you bring in another gang. You go to Liverpool or whatever other part. They'll figure something out. They can find somebody. But I don't know if it's going to be that clean. I think so.
I can just say that I think we're looking at something big happening. The next episode is what it's called, Antwerp Blues. So I think we're going to see a lot of stuff that's going to happen because this was a total build-up.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times when you see an episode like this, you think it's really boring, but there was so much storytelling, a lot of drama. As I told you, this was one of the most stressful episodes where you're watching, like you're waiting for something to happen and it doesn't. And they've done this now twice, right?
Oh, yeah. But then something did happen. We did get
at the end.
Yeah, at the end. And I don't think anyone had her on the death card for this episode. I know I didn't. I
maybe
thought of everyone else.
after she insulted Maeve, but not to be this soon.
Yeah.
Because remember, they did talk about always liking. Oh, you know what? I take that back. You know what? I take that back. Because I read it and it didn't dawn on me. So episode 6, next episode, the Antwerp Blues. It says in the aftermath of Plan B. Plan B was that Maeve and them killed Vaughn. Because don't you remember that? And
That
it
was the
didn't
plan. She said,
didn't
"Yeah,
even
we're
dawn
gonna
on
plan
me
B
that
was the
they said
name."
that in the aftermath of Plan B. So she went to Plan B, probably behind Conrad's back.
Of course, that was to call Paul. So he definitely doesn't know. Conrad doesn't know any of this stuff. He doesn't know the deal that Maeve has with Eddie, that she was behind all that.
Because she's
This-
already trying to put it in Conrad's head that Harry is backstabbing him.
yeah, there's a lot. All right, so let's see the things that we don't know. So we could all put this together. We don't
I
know.
don't know a lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot we know. All right, we still don't know the deal with Antoine, the French guy. Remember Bella and trying to that Antoine
Yeah,
wants to meet up with her. We
didn't
don't know
even
if she.
address that.
Nope, we don't know if she fixed that deal or now it's completely dead after Harry like gave him a good punch and a little nasty grab in the hotel room. So that's one thing we don't know. We also don't know there was see I just throw my train of thought. Wait, there's somebody else we don't know. Oh, Maria. We don't know the whole thing with Maria.
Yeah,
How does she fit with this? Maria's mom. I'm assuming that Maria's just Jan's friend, best friend, but we don't know. She's there. Something I don't see how that fits with all this, but definitely has to fit somewhere.
well, like I said, I think that's just leading to the story arc with what happened to Kevin. And that's
And
what I'm
then
wondering if we even need to know what's going on with her.
well, Brandon, and even Brandon, with bringing in this whole other element of like, I got these precious stones worth a lot of money, and let's do this whole business. That threw us off. We thought when he said a few episodes back that he wanted to meet with Seraphina and he had something to tell her about, we thought it was that she was part of the whole Tommy thing,
Yeah,
that he was working with his mom and that they were doing this whole thing because it made it seem like they were close, at least the way Maeve was describing everything with Brandon. But no, he had his own side hustle that he's trying to get involved. How does
yeah,
that fit, if at all, to any of this drama?
and maybe that's what leads into next season. Maybe they already have. If season 2 happens, if they get greenlit, maybe it leads into whatever Brendan is doing. Right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's good storytelling.
good
If
storytelling.
you're already setting something up to lead into a second season, hoping that you're going to get it, that would be good
Oh,
storytelling.
and the
Without,
last part, we still don't know who the rat is regarding Archie.
oh yeah,
We still don't know. So who tipped off the police about Archie's death? We assume that it's the mortician when it comes to where the body is, because obviously he
why are the
put
mortician?
the
I
body
mean,
in.
why? They're going to get themselves in trouble.
But unless they came clean, maybe the police knew they were doing some shady stuff because remember that's how
They
Harry
just have
would
to explain
dispose
how
of
they
all
knew,
their stuff.
but then they would just have to explain how they knew that.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah, there you go. So there are some questions. So I mean, we didn't grade the last episode. Completely forgot about that. But with this one, I don't know. I'll give this 3.5. Like I said, it's a good setup. Vaughn is dead, so there goes Plan B. That gets triggered, so we get that. That was a big surprise. Wasn't expecting it, but now we know for a fact there will be a war. We know
yeah.
there's a war. There's no more. Oh, they're gonna sit down and talk. They're gonna have a meeting at that other spot that they paid 50,000 for. Forgot the name of the dude's little meat spot. No. Those
Yeah, they do mention
Louis
it
or
earlier.
yeah, there's some. No,
I
not
see the
happening.
boxing gym. I'll
Yeah,
give
yeah.
this a 4. I like storytelling. I like when they can tell again, there's no action, right? Which we've had that in every episode. I like a good story that you're keeping me in suspense. You're building up on what's going to happen for the next 5 episodes. I will go back to The Shield, right? If you've ever watched The Shield, I think it's the greatest TV show ever. It is a hard watch as a parent now that I go back. But the whole entire 7 seasons is built off the pilot episode. Spoiler alert, when Vic Mackey kills the other police officer
What?
and frames it. Yeah. Like the whole series is built on covering that up. So I like a good story.
Well, Sopranos also. Sopranos had a lot of episodes where it was just
Yeah.
talking and setting things in motion. And then the big payoffs were always at the end of the season, right? That's
Yep.
when the car bombings
And
and the killings and all that stuff. Everyone's getting whacked.
And I think people's attention span, a lot of people's attention span in this day and age, it's they need the action. Walking Dead, go back to that. Oh, they didn't kill a horde of zombies. Well, you can't kill a horde of zombies every single episode.
The horses
You
have
have
to
to
come from
build up to it.
somewhere. You got to give them time to walk. Remember, it's
Yeah.
Walking Dead. They're not running. It takes a while. They killed all the
No,
walkers in that area.
I still don't
Remember, they only
understand how
had
they couldn't. Again, sidebar. I don't understand how they weren't able to outrun the zombies.
they would trip. Lawrence, there's a lot of debris on the ground, and there's stuff, rocks. You trip, you could easily break your ankle. You're not eating your vitamins and stuff. They're on simple rations. Their bones are frail. There was a lot that went. Yeah, it was bad.
And
It
I
was
can
a
tell
rough
you,
time.
I can tell you've talked about The Walking Dead a lot.
Way too much. Way too much. Go ahead. I am Negan. That's over there. iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. But yeah, no, definitely. But yay, hey, we're good. We're done. We're back with all this for next week. But anyway, thanks again for liking, subscribing on YouTube. Go ahead, please put in some comments. The people that are commenting, keep doing it. That's great. We like answering these questions and then just putting this together. And we will be back next week for
and
episode 6.
and tell us if you served in the Navy and couldn't swim, because
Yeah,
that is now the really burning question. The whole reason why we have started this channel, to find out.
yeah. If people can swim in the Navy, can you do? I mean, why would you sign up for the Navy if you can't swim? That's like getting over your fear to the extreme level.
I
Because
mentioned that before, and once again, it's one of those things where I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. That's it, people. Well, we're out, and also on the channel, we're covering The Last of Us, myself and my brother. So you'll probably see a little bar picture here. Just click that if you're into the whole thing. And there was a big death in that. Don't want to spoil it, but yeah, that happened, and we'll see where the show goes from here. But yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you next week, people. Later.
Take care.